America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Do you feel beautiful? Do you look beautiful? Does one really affect the other? Welcome to Beauty Inside and Out with host Bonnie Bonadeo. In our show, we'll help you uncover your true self and unleash beauty that you never knew existed in order to be at your best, both inside and out. Now, here is your host, Bonnie Bonadeo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beauty Inside and Out. We are live on Facebook today on my page, Bonnie Bonadeo. And I love and appreciate all of you guys that have been following me on Facebook. And I love and appreciate all of you that have been staying consistent with me on air and live with me. Thank you so much for participating in the show as we're kind of bringing our show to an end for the year. We've got some exciting things coming in 2019, so I can't wait to share those with you. I got a new look, a new brand, and some new opportunities. So if you're interested in being a guest, certainly reach out to me. If you know somebody that would be a great guest, I would love to get a referral. And of course, if you are that beauty company that is trying to figure out how to connect with 50,000 beauty consumers, I have some sponsorship and advertising packages that I know you will like and appreciate, and have a lot of creativity and flexibility to be able to help you gain some new business out of it as well. So with that, we're in our relationship series month. So last week we talked about the relationship with a significant other. It was specific to women and some of the challenges that they're faced with in finding the right man. So if you didn't hear that, you can always go back into my podcast and archives to be able to listen to that one. Today, we're having a beautiful conversation about money with my guest, Marlene Elizabeth. So stay tuned for that. It's coming, and I'm very excited because Marlene has been an amazing coach and mentor to me, and certainly somebody that has helped me to really see a different and feel a different conversation with money. And you'll hear my story as we kind of progress through the show and everything, so I don't want to take that away from her introduction as well. And I want you guys to have and hear this conversation truly from a place of love and your heart, because I know that a lot of times we think of money in ways that makes us anxious and uncomfortable. So we're gonna have a very loving money conversation today, and then be sure to join us for the next two sessions. Next week, I am doing my own show, and we're going to be talking about the beautiful relationship with you and how to be able to make sure that you're going into the new year without the baggage, without the disappointments, without the things that haven't been healed properly, and so that you can start your year off and have an amazing, successful year. And then we're going to finish out the month with the relationship with your health, nutrition, and diets. And we have a great guest, Felicia Stoller, that's going to be able to help us to be able to say, all right, we're going to be healthy in the new year as well. So I'm glad that you're joining us for Relationship Month here in December. So back to Miss Marlene. So not only is she a podcaster herself, and she is also a co-author with me on the book that we just launched, which was Empowering You and Transforming Lives. But she's also a certified money coach, and she was my certified money coach. And she's a mamapreneur, and I love that expression because we can never neglect the fact that who we are is nurturing women and mothers from the very beginning. So Marlene, thanks for joining us. I'm so glad to have you on my show.
Oh, thank you so much, Bonnie, for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here today.
Oh, excellent. Well, we're glad to have you here. All right. So we're going to be having a conversation with money, but I'm always curious, what had you even begin a relationship and a career choice with money? Because we never start out necessarily in where we end up. So give us a little bit of the history of how you got involved in this.
Yes. So I had my daughter late in life, and that was sort of the beginning of my journey into this whole new world for me at the time. Because I had, pretty much before having my daughter, I had done all the things. I had my career, I worked on Capitol Hill. I traveled, I did I was on television hosting shows, and I did all kinds of exciting things that you do when you become an adult. And then all of a sudden I became a mom and I realized
I totally get that.
and I thought, oh my goodness, okay. Not only does she not come with the owner's manual, but I've got to get my money situation together, because up until that point, really, I had just been surviving every, best way that I could. I wasn't, I didn't really grow up in a household where I learned about money. And, of course, they don't teach it in school. And, I didn't, when I got my degree, it wasn't in finance or business or anything like that. And so, I would say as a creative, right brain person, I really just did not have a handle on my finances, which was okay when it was just me. But suddenly when it was my daughter, it became a whole new ballgame. And so at that point, I remember making the decision, okay, money, I kind of felt like money was always chasing me like a boogeyman sort of thing. And I just kind of turned around and faced it, kind of facing your fear and saying, okay, what are you about anyway? What is it about you that I just can't figure out? And so at that point, I decided to, pick up personal finance books, and I can figure this out. I'm a smart woman, intelligent person. I can do this. And the books were great, but I still just did not have this connection, this relationship that we're talking about here. And so I just thought, and at that point, I just kind of followed my intuition. I said, well, these books aren't working, but maybe if I go ahead and maybe what I could do is read some books or quotes from people who are really great with money. What is it that they know that I don't know? How do they think? Specifically, my quest was, how do they think? And so that began my journey. And I think I read like maybe about 800 quotes, and eventually formed some patterns and themes, and realized, oh, this conversation is actually a lot more than just about money. The coins and the dollar bills. This goes a lot deeper than I really realized.
It really does, doesn't it?
It does. It absolutely does. It's funny. I joke because I say it led me to my kitchen cupboard, because all these years I've had this quote in the inside of one of my kitchen cabinets that talks about how it's kind of the journey to our destiny, and it starts with our thoughts, right? Be aware of guard your thoughts, because they become your words, and guard your words because they become your actions, and guard your actions because they become your habits, and guard your habits because they become your character, and guard your character because it becomes your destiny. And really, this is what I was really learning, that money had a lot to do with how I thought about money. And I had never even really stopped to think, well, what do you think about money? What are your beliefs about money? And which beliefs are maybe standing in your way from allowing you to receive it? To be close with it, to be intimate with it, to have a relationship with it.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. I think when you bring up money, the reaction that people have, the emotional connection, good, bad, or indifferent, that they have to money. And it's all something that it stems from early on, but it's not because it stemmed from a form of education around it. It was more of how other people thought about it. And so you transfer that pattern.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of emotions around it. There's a shame. There's a lot, I call it like the iceberg effect. The practical side of money is that tip of the iceberg we can see above the water, and that everyone else can see as well. But underneath that surface is this massive place, our subconscious, and a lot of different areas that relate to money that kind of remain under the surface because we're just so busy in life, and we're doing our thing and taking care of all our responsibilities. But if we find ourselves really stuck, that's usually we find it's kind of, we need to go deeper and go down. And
yeah.
I basically, eventually I ended up, in my journey, that's basically how I ended up becoming a certified money coach. It really had to do with my daughter. So I ended up writing my book, Money Wings, Unfolding Your Financial Potential, One Brave Feather at a Time, on her birthday this last summer. And here's a picture actually of her with me in the book.
Oh, how old is she now?
So Delina is 11.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, she's 11. And this is the book.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. I have my copy. I'm reading it. I'm loving it. And thank you for that. I mean, it was very valid to be coaching with you and, just to work through some of my, relationship with money, because it was easy and hard at the same time. And I was in this constant battle of, why is it easy to get and why is it hard to get? And at what point is it just going to stop being the battle of one or the other? And, not be in that same thought process. So let me ask you this, Marlene, how do you define money? Like, what do you really use as a definition for that?
It's interesting because the way that I approach money is from the perspective of financial self-care. And when I really, really look at money, and this may have a lot to do with my own perspective in life, in my background, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I also ended up getting my degree in religious education from Boston College, because that's kind of where I thought I wanted to be, in ministry. And I did do that for quite a long time. After I left politics, I went to ministry after Capitol Hill.
That was a cleansing.
Right. And so, but what I've really learned about money is that really at the core, and this is what I truly believe, that finances truly are a spiritual matter.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, in the end, that's truly how I see the whole world of money. And I see our dynamics around it, our relationship with it. I really feel and believe that it has a real deep connection to our spirit, and of course to our purpose and why we were meant to be here. So there's definitely the practical aspect of it. There's the power of money, and that alone is a subject all on its own. The power and the comfort or lack of comfort that we have with power. But and there's so much involved when we talk about power in terms of our choices that we make. And so we sometimes approach money feeling so powerless around it, and yet truly our power lies in the choices we make. And that's really simply the bottom line, the choices we make. I know a lot of people talk about money as energy, and I think that's really helpful too. I tend to like to talk about money as a tool, for sure. It's a tool. It's a powerful tool. And so that's kind of how I tend to look at money.
I know a lot of people see it as, money is energy, just like anything. And, and the ability to be able to manifest it as an energy. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, I really feel that if we can connect into money as energy, I think that's really useful and powerful. I think the main thing is that we tend to project so much onto money, so much onto money, and we forget our own power. We forget that we're the ones that are the power. We're the ones that are the presence. We are the ones that are the change makers and the doers and the movers of the mountains. And yes, but the money's underneath our arm as our tool doing it. But sometimes I feel like there's so much that we put on the money, and it's really, we are the master of it, and I really that's why I love so much doing the work that I do, is because it really comes down to the freedom and being free with money, not being a slave to it, but really being, kind of the boss, moving in that place. And really, I think what it comes down to many times is growing into that place of being a full-grown adult, right? Truly self-actualized when it comes to money, versus coming at it from a more, of a childish place. Childish is one thing, childlike is another. And so I think that also, there's a component of that as well, especially with women. We tend to sometimes rely on, others to get us to where we want to go sometimes, like with money, when we have the power ourselves to get there.
I think that's really true. I think that there's still a much bigger conversation with money and women. I think it's getting better, and I think that it's evolving, but I don't think it's anywhere near where it could or should be.
Yeah, I think that's why this is such an exciting time, because right now, especially in the world of entrepreneurship and in the online space, there are so many women really doing some great work in the world and making some really great income as well, because of the gift of the internet that we have today. But at the same time, to be able to be in a place where you can hold on to that money that you make, instead of maybe self-sabotaging and losing it all, right? That's a very common dynamic that goes on. And it's simply because it's not comfortable. It's not a place that we necessarily know. And so there's a certain work that has to be done to be prepared and ready to create that level of income. And any of the women who are able to do that very successfully, and I think of, celebrity women that we know, let's say, for example, Oprah, right? I mean, at each stage of the game, she had to be doing her own inner work. So really,
oh yeah,
the journey has everything to do with personal development. It really does. And it can be money, or it can be around, let's just say you're trying to get a handle on your relationship to food, or your relationship to other people, or your relationship to work, whatever it may be. But it's all about, that personal growth, that development in our life, which I'm all about.
Yeah. And listen, the relationship with money and the evolution that we need to have with it is only going to allow us to prosper more, is what I believe. I'm posting on Facebook right now and asking people, what is their relationship with money?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So you guys let me know that are watching, what is your relationship with money? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it, some people say that money is the root of all evil. Some people say, I don't have a relationship, which I think when we get to our next segment, I think Marlene is going to maybe add a little information around that, because the truth is you do have a relationship with money. It's just kind of uncovering which one it is. And we're also going to talk about in this next segment the different money archetypes that we kind of gravitate to. Just like there's personality ones, there's one that's attached to money with us. And I found this process to be very, very interesting and so true. And it did change the way I approached things based on understanding my two top money archetypes. But not only that, it was also looking at the ones that were holding me back or holding on to more power than the positive ones, which led me to have that better understanding of that yin and yang relationship I had with money. It was either coming or there was none. It was feast or it was famine. It was easy to get or it was hard to get. And when I kind of discovered my money archetypes, I really saw that my ones that were not working for me were the ones that I needed to nurture. Because the ones that were working for me, I had already figured out. It's kind of like that same thing where it's like, go with your strengths, but be aware of your weaknesses. It was a big awareness of the weaknesses that I had around my relationship with money. So I'm excited to share that in this next segment. So don't go away. For those of you that are on our live radio show on Voice America, thank you for joining me. We're going to take a quick break right now. And then for those of you that are with Facebook, we don't go anywhere. We just hang out and you kind of get a little behind the scenes with me and Marlene. So stay with us. We're going to be right back. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us here today on Beauty Inside and Out. Okay, I just posted on Facebook for all of you. What is your relationship with money? So fire it back. Let me know what it said. I can't find it now. Hold on. I'm going to repost it. So Marlene was my coach for a while there, and it was a perfect timing to be able to, I guess I can't multitask here. I'm sorry. I have learned that doesn't serve me well. There. What is your relationship with money? Answer me on Facebook what your relationship is. But Marlene was my money coach, and I learned a great deal from her and was able to release some past trauma attached to money, and allow myself to kind of be more in the, like she said, the spiritual place of it, and to have it as a tool and not as a survival piece. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back from this break. But Marlene, what would you say is most of in the clients that you coach? Is their coaching attached to because it comes and it goes, or they want more, or they can't figure it out how to get what they want?
Well, predominantly I work with entrepreneurs, creatives, visionaries, right? And a lot of times it's because when we talk about this relationship to money, there is no connection to it. You know, creative artists, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next segment.
Yes, that's true.
There's no connection with it. So that's a biggie. And yet they're entrepreneurs. And so they're trying to generate this income in their business, but they're stuck. And so that's really...
Sorry to interrupt. We're getting ready to come back.
Perfect. Thank you.
Here we go.
Come.
You are listening to Beauty Inside and Out with Bonnie Bonadeo. If you have a question or comment about our show, please send an email to bonnie@bonniebonadeo.com. That's bonnie@bonniebonadeo.com. Now back to Beauty Inside and Out.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Beauty Inside and Out. We are in Relationship Month, and we are talking about your beautiful relationship with money. And my guest is Marlene Elizabeth, and she is an author, a mompreneur, and she just recently wrote a book called Money Wings, and it just got released this summer on her daughter's 11th birthday. So that was exciting for her. But not only that, Marlene Elizabeth and I were also co-authors in a book, Empowering You, Transforming Lives, which just launched this last week, and we hit #1 international bestseller, like in several countries. You know, obviously including the USA, but in several countries. So we hit that very high level of status. And it's a great, great book that is kind of a daily inspiration. And it's still available for you to get. Obviously, you can get it in the downloadable or the Kindle version on Amazon. So you can just find it, Empowering You, Transforming Lives. The hardback or the print book will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I will have some on my website before the year is out. So I look forward to my hard copy, and I hope you do too. It'll make a great Christmas present if that's something you're interested in. But Marlene, okay, so we're going back to the relationship with money. And we talked about it in this first segment of just, you know, how some people feel about money, and some people think that it's good or evil, or some people have no issues with it, or they don't think they have a relationship with it. And we're going to argue that point here a little bit. So let's talk about kind of that evolution then of that relationship with money and the different money archetypes that are out there.
Well, and you know, Bonnie, you know, I remember a time, of course, in my life as well, when I would sometimes hear other people talk about a relationship to money or a relationship with money. And I thought, what? How do you have a relationship with something that's an inanimate object, you know? And so I get it. I really get it. And it does take that evolution. It does take that kind of that inner exploration around this topic. And so along the journey, as I started working as a certified money coach, a lot of what I also work with my clients is helping them as they develop the language to talk about their relationship to money, we talk about their money types. And so there's basically 8 money types, and these are created by the founder of the Money Coaching Institute, which is where I was trained. That's Deborah Price's institute. And so she created these 8 archetypes. And so, and the best way to look at them is that you consider the kind of picture a stage. So when you show up in your relationship to money, you can show up in any one of these 8 archetypes. But they're all you. And so there is the magician, there's the warrior, there's the fool, there's the victim, the innocent, and there's the tyrant, there's the creative artist, and I believe I got them all.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, so I'm missing one. There's also the, okay, it'll come to me. But but as we talk about these archetypes, what happens is that each one of these archetypes has their own distinct qualities and characteristics. And you can always tell when you're, let's say, having a conversation with someone about money, and your language, the words you use, your experience, it can really show you in which archetype that you're showing up, which archetype is taking the center stage in your relationship to money. And the rest are kind of in the background, but that archetype or multiple archetypes are kind of center stage. And so here's where I was talking about earlier about the power of our choice. And that is that first of all, the first step is just being aware that this dynamic is even going on, that you can talk about your relationship to money in terms of these archetypes, and then identify and be aware and recognize who's showing up, which part of your relationship to money is showing up in your interaction with it. And so that's really helpful when we're doing money coaching.
Yes, I loved that part of the opportunity to be able to coach with you and to be able to read that section in your book. And I'm very clear that I had a lot of magician in me, but like I had shared in the first segment, it was the victim and the fool that were kind of behind the curtain, still calling the shots while I was on the stage, playing the magician and being powerful in my way. And then kind of like, it was like my self-doubt. They were back there being like my self-doubt. And, oh no, don't ask. They're going to say no, or, who do you think you are? You don't deserve that. That type of conversation that I think we are unconsciously and subconsciously having with ourselves and not realizing it. And I think that these archetypes really brought it to life for me, that it's like, what conversation am I really having in these moments?
Oh, it's really powerful. And the 8th one is the martyr.
Oh, the martyr. Yes. Oh, yes. I had the martyr showing up.
That's, and it really, again, we're talking about putting the power back into your hands, right? It's one of the powerful ways that this is a powerful tool when you're able to understand each one of these archetypes in depth and in detail, and then really kind of see how they show up. Then you can determine if that's okay or not okay. You can say, oh, you know what? That's the innocent coming up. And I know why, because of, and it usually leads back to our money story. Which is another big component of money coaching, is really taking time to discover and explore your money story. But mainly what you really want to do is when you show up in your relationship to money, what will serve you the most is showing up as the warrior and showing up as the magician and showing up as the creative artist. Those are really the 3 ways that really will serve you when you're in, interacting with money in any way, shape, or form. The others tend to be the saboteurs. When we come into a relationship with money and we're an innocent around it, that's kind of the head in the sand. That's kind of the experience of feeling very overwhelmed. That's the feeling of don't want to see, don't want to hear, I don't want to deal with it. If you show up as a victim, there tends to be a lot of anger and a sense of powerlessness, kind of like, well, whatever I do, it's not going to work anyway. So that's it. Right. The martyr is really kind of overextending themselves. There's no sense of boundaries with martyrs. And tyrants, it's a real kind of controlling kind of energy. But again, we're not born with these kinds of dynamics in our relationship to money. I mean, we inherited them. And then over time, when we start to understand what's kind of hijacking our relationship to money, then we can do something about it. So it is really important to do these deep dives.
Oh yeah. And listen, there was some deep dives that I did. And it was because I'm a coach as well. It's easy for me to understand the process to go down and do those deep dives. But it's still very, you have to be very vulnerable to kind of really take that on. And one of the things that Marlene did in our process was to really look at that relationship that I had with money, to how I was brought up around money, the relationship with my father and the relationship with my mother to money, and how much that impacted and affected the success and the failure of it, when it showed up and when I made it go away. So that was really, really interesting. I want to share some of the things that people shared on Facebook. Hi, Robin. Robin says that her first thought is love, although she says, I don't know what my relationship is, but the first thing I'm going to say is love. Right. And all right, we got frustration, love, spiritual. I added spiritual on there too. And so continue to keep sharing with us what your relationship to money is. And we will continue to share with you what Marlene's philosophy is here in her coaching strategies to being able to help you understand having that better relationship with money. All right, Marlene, where do you want to go from here? So we talked about the archetypes, and we talked about how there's the powerful ones that you want to have that energy of. And then there's the saboteurs that are kind of behind the scenes. And I totally got that. I think that when we push ourselves to be great, it's the shadow is still following us and preventing us from having that ultimate greatness in it. So when we can do that deep dive and look at those other ones around us, it makes an impact on why we haven't had maybe a good or great relationship with money.
Yeah, I like to say that, the journey to greatness, is a lot of winning and learning. And it couldn't be, more true than when it comes to our relationship to money. And I know that it's also really helpful when you're talking about your relationship to money to also understand there's 4 distinct relationships to it in terms of when we're talking about money in the brain. There's a whole lot of wonderful new scientific research, neuroscientific research around how our brain works, right? And it really informs this conversation beautifully around money. And so when we look at money, we can also look at it from the perspective of the fact that we have, so I said, 4 distinctive relationships to it. 1, instinctive. We have an instinctive relationship to money. We have an emotional relationship to money. We have a practical relationship to money. And we have a spiritual relationship to money. And what's interesting is when you kind of break down these 4 distinct pieces, they are located in different parts of our brain. So the practical piece is always, of course, going to be in our left side of our brain. That's the logical, structured, ordered, knows time, is very, knows structure and all that. But emotions and spirituality and intuition, all that is on our right side of the brain. And yet oftentimes we live in a society that is very sometimes left-sided and sometimes not so comfortable with the creative side, the emotional side. Although, again, the internet is changing all of that, which is really exciting. So exciting. There's kind of a rise of the right brain, I think, going on right now in the world. And because there's all these connections. And so it's really important that when you're talking about your relationship to money, it's also important to understand kind of the side of money and the brain as well. And understanding that piece is really life-changing.
And is there a way in your coaching process to be able to kind of help somebody understand where they might be lying within these 4 distinctive relationships?
Well, usually what we do is the first step we do is we start with the money story. And when we go there, then we can really kind of get a sense as to which one of those are showing up. So like, for example, if there's a lot of lack of kind of choices and intention around the relationship to money, then there's probably more of an instinctual kind of weighted energy going on. And to be honest, really, so many of us still operate in that instinctive level with money, where we're just wired to react. And also that's the place in our brain where we're wired for desire. So it's just kind of this instinct, right? But being able to shift into the intentional piece, that's really what money coaching is all about, is being able to be much more intentional and aware as to how we're engaging. But we do a lot of work around the emotional piece. And that can be pretty scary sometimes, especially when, as strong, independent women, we tend to not really be connected sometimes to our emotions. And especially, and this is a big topic as well when it comes to money and our relationship with money, the impact of abuse. The impact of abuse on our financial freedom is also a huge area that is just, I think, just being explored, we're just kind of scratching the surface of that right now. And that is a real big conversation, especially, for women, and abuse of all forms, subtle or just overt and all that. So that's also a big piece, but working around the emotional piece is big when we're doing our money coaching.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's far more emotional than I think people give it credit for. Even the practical people, they learned to be practical with it and not have that intuitive or emotional side show up. But there's that value in having the balance of it.
Yes, and especially for women, because when you're looking at the brain, a woman's brain is designed differently than a man's brain. And that's great because they complement each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in a man's brain, that emotional, the emotional pathways, it's literally physically not there. But for women, women have, it's like the LA freeway. It's very, very active. Whereas for a man, it literally is like a country road, just a 1-lane country road.
Yeah.
And
it's very departmentalized.
It really is, right? And there's value to that because, for focus, that's very important. And also, for structure and step, kind of systems and things like that. And yet we can't neglect or ignore this whole other beautiful side, the feminine side of money. So,
because there is a masculine and a feminine side to it. And sometimes we need to understand how to be able to adapt to both of those, and depending on the energy and the situation that we may be in, we might have to be adapting to both of those. We're going to take another quick break here. But when we come back for our final segment, the couple of the questions that I'm very curious about, especially since we're talking about money and the relationship with women and money, is I want to hear from Marlene, to define the under-earning philosophy. And then, of course, I want to be able to hear some strategies that we can take on as women to be able to have more of that instinctive and spiritual power to money. And then, of course, Marlene has a very special offer that she's going to share with you at the end of this next segment as well. So don't go away. Stay with us. And remember, if you are not following me on my Facebook pages or Instagram, please do. It's you can go to @BEaUty Inside and Out Show. or at Bonnie Bonadeo, either one of them. And that's going to keep you abreast to what's going on, and also some of the special promotions that my guests are offering, so that in case you can't take advantage of them right away, you can still take advantage of them later, because they're going to be posted up on my site, bonniebonadeo.com /free-gifts. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Ah, perfect. Thank you, Miss Marlene. I am loving this. I hope you guys are too. I want to check and see. My phone froze up here a little bit, so I didn't get to see a lot of what your guys' answers were in regards to it. So let us know if you're still with us live. Let us know what your relationship to money is. And although Marlene just defined it a little bit here, is it instinctive, emotional, practical, or spiritual? You might instinctively know the answer to that already. So let us know which one of those you are. I think I was very emotional with money, and I knew how to be practical. And I think the ones that I really worked on in our relationship together during our time was to really tap into a little bit more of that instinctive, that less surviving and more thriving mentality. And then that's kind of brought me to this very spiritual place of, I trust, I am.
Yeah. You know, I was going to say that it's so important to, because you mentioned vulnerability, it is so important to be able to be vulnerable in safe places to connect on this topic. That is so, so important. And because without that sense of safety, we just won't go there. And so it really is important to feel that sense of safety. And again, a woman's intuition, we know, when we are and when we're not.
Yeah. And safety plays a big part in money, because if we don't have money, we don't feel safe. And if we don't feel safe, we can't generate that relationship to have money. So it puts us in a very much a catch-22.
Sorry to interrupt you. We're getting ready to come back.
Thank you.
Yep. Here we go.
You are listening to Beauty Inside and Out with Bonnie Bonadeo. If you have a question or comment about our show, please send an email to bonnie@bonniebonadeo.com. That's bonnie@bonniebonadeo.com. Now back to Beauty Inside and Out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Beauty Inside and Out. My guest, Marlene Elizabeth. She's the author of Money Wings. She's also the co-author of Empowering You, Transforming Lives, which, again, still ties back to money. She is an amazing money coach and has really worked with people of all levels. You said that you worked with a lot of creative artists, because as entrepreneurs, we kind of are focused on what we do best and maybe not focused on that connection or that relationship to money, which I can say is true in a lot of cases with the people that I'm coaching as well. They have it, great. If they don't, they really don't know how to let go of what might be stopping them from having it in order to have a different relationship with it. Some people probably don't know this, but there was a point where I was working for manufacturers in beauty and traveling all over the place, and I just was over being on the road. I mean, I was seriously living on American Airlines and Holiday Inns. And so I decided, I wanted to stop. I wanted to try something different. And I got my license in all money categories. And so I was like a financial advisor for a couple of years while I was transitioning. And most of that knowledge I did take back to the beauty industry. So I helped salons and individuals be able to create 401k plans and IRAs so that they could develop that relationship with money and be able to have some retirement going into it. And although everything I learned in regards to that very practical training, I am a creative artist at heart, and I could not stay in that industry for very long because it was too confined and too regulated and not as much fun for me. So I did end up going back into beauty, but I'm grateful for that knowledge. Although I got to tell you that was just all practical knowledge. The time that I spent with Marlene as a money coach was knowledge that I saw immediate results of, and I saw an opportunity for me to shift in the way that I'm doing business so that I can prosper personally and professionally. So thank you for that, Marlene.
Oh, thank you, Bonnie. And I have to say that one of the qualities that my clients have that really help to create that success is that courage to be honest. And you demonstrated that again and again and again. That courage just to be honest, not with me, but with yourself, with ourselves. That's a real big, piece of it.
Yeah, there is no sense lying to yourself. It doesn't serve you well at all. So I had to buckle down. I had to do the work. But I found it fascinating and I found it interesting. And I found it quite a bit of a relief that you have to work hard to make money. You have to try really hard to make money. I found that release in letting go of that archaic philosophy. Do I still work hard? Absolutely. Do I attach working hard to making money? Not anymore. I love to work hard. I love to do what I'm doing. I don't attach it to that forcefulness of making money, which again, was part of my story. And I think it's a part of a lot of women's stories. So let's talk about, in our final segment here, let's talk about that under-earning and what are some tips that you can share with us, and maybe exclusively to women, but I think this is a general conversation that it would benefit anybody of how we can improve this process for ourselves.
Well, and I will say that one of the most pioneers in the whole area of overcoming under-earning, if you haven't already heard of her, is Barbara Stanny. She's just done some phenomenal work around this topic, and it is an important topic because, and yet, here's what's really interesting about it: under-earning is actually not even a word in the dictionary. It's amazing, right? That it's not even a word in the dictionary, and words are powerful, right? To be able to define something and to. So, this whole area of under-earning, I definitely highly recommend, if you don't already know Barbara Stanny, definitely check out some of her books, because she specifically has built her whole work around that. But just in general, it's something that women really find a challenge, because there's so many dynamics, around it. But one of the dynamics that really makes it hard is that there's no conversation. Women find it really hard to talk about money, like the trust, and just to be able to, and also the shame around it. Again, I mean, shame really can hold us back. And for those of you who may also know another person who does a lot of work around vulnerability and shame, Brene Brown's work.
She's awesome.
She really does.
And that guilt and that shame that we have for being maybe a working mother and then not taking care of our family, and that we should be home. But we can't afford to be home. I mean, it's constant.
Yeah, the comparisonitis, it's like we can get really caught up in looking at what everyone else is doing and what's going on with them, instead of just kind of staying our path and trusting, but and what you were saying earlier too, Bonnie, about this sense of I have to work really hard for money. I was talking to a client recently where she put up her spreadsheet because I was kind of showing her how she could track her money in a very simple way, nothing that's overwhelming, but that every time a little bit of money comes in, she can put it right there. And then on the bottom, it slowly starts to show her how she's, reaching her goal for the month. And so, until it gets down to zero. And we recently had a call, and she was saying, I'm looking at my numbers, and I really have to take it in that that's my number. I can't believe I actually made that much. And this is what she said: I don't even feel like I worked that hard to make that money. Like, I don't even feel like, so that's the place where we want to be. And a lot of that has to do with knowing what our gifts and strengths are, knowing where we are, what we're great at doing, and knowing what we're not so great at doing. But really just knowing that we have this incredible financial potential to thrive, but we really need the support around us, the tools and the resources around us to do it. It's not a solo journey. It is, and money, interesting when we go back to the definition of money, I think by definition is not a solo journey. It changes hands. It's a value exchange. So money by definition is a relationship. It's
like, don't hang on to it.
Yes,
it doesn't do you any good to hang on to it. You have to keep it flowing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it is a relationship. And so it is really important to reach out for support. Absolutely. When it comes to getting to that place where you're ready to be brave and to stop under earning. You're ready to claim your value. You're ready to claim and stand in your worth and stand in your gifts, not perfectly, but with excellence.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as perfect, but there is excellence.
Yeah. And that, that's a process.
Yes.
That absolutely is, because perfection is one of the reasons why people probably don't have a good relationship with money, is because they're expecting things to be perfect prior to making or achieving these particular goals and everything. And I think the people that I've really admired, I've admired them because they have, I'll use the word intuitive. They just have this intuitiveness about themselves that what they desire comes to them, whether that's money, business, new opportunities. And I've really observed the way that they are and interact with themselves and others to be able to have that. And it's certainly something admirable and admired in here. Marlene, will you share with us, because I know that you have an opportunity for our guests to be able to get something free from you, and then also be sure to share with us where we can get your book.
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, so what I'd love to offer to everyone who's joined us today is I'd love for you to be able to download a free chapter of my book, Money Wings. And you can do that at growmoneywings.com. But with every download, you have the opportunity to win a free private money coaching session with me. And the value of the session is $150. So all you have to do is just download your free chapter of Money Wings and kind of get a taste of the book itself. I would love for you to purchase it as well, but sometimes it's nice just to get a sample of it and see if it's something that you really feel could serve you. And then win the opportunity to be able to have a free money coaching session with me.
Oh, yeah, do it. Everybody do it. Download it, get your book, get in there. I mean, just even one session might make an enormous impact, but it also might make you realize that you have so much more potential in you, and making the investment in yourself is going to be a great way to find that. So it was growmoneywings.com.
Yep.
growmoneywings.com. That's how you're going to be able to access it. I'll also put it up on my website as well. So you can go on to bonniebonadeo.com/free-gifts. And the link will be there as well for you to be able to do that in case you forget that. But Marlene, thank you. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for continuing to support me in a great relationship with money. And I can't wait to share with you some of the things that are going on next year due to the time that we've spent together this year, and everything that's kind of come into place, just thrilled and excited. And obviously the book launch that we just did together was one of them, but the speaking opportunities and everything else that I've received going into this next year just are amazing. And I'm excited about that. All right, everybody, we're going to continue this relationship with money. And we're going to continue the relationship with relationships. So next week, I'm going to be kind of recapping a little bit of that relationship that you desire, maybe with a personal person, and that relationship with money and how to be able to access that. And how, if you're an entrepreneur or you're an independent contractor or you're in the business for yourself how to be able to have that relationship with you first so that you can connect with others and have that very powerful opportunity to transfer what you do best to them. And that, of course, translates into money and success and being able to live the life that we live. And then, of course, we're going to close out the month with a good, healthy dose of conversation with Felicia Stoller, who is a nutritionist, because at that point, we're going to need a good, healthy conversation on our health. So in the meantime, everybody, thank you for joining me. And remember to always be you in beauty.
All clear. Great job.
Thank you.
Yep.